A very good day to all of you. So we continue with Brooks' arguments in favor of the humanistic uses of literature. Brooks differentiates knowledge provided by literature from that provided by science, philosophy, theology, and history. He believes that the worlds created by literary artists have a very real relationship to the familiar world in which we live. That they are almost similar. Brooks gives cites an example of Alice stories, which, in spite of depicting a world of fantasy, they reflect the Victorian life, particularly the manners and attitudes of a specific society. In the book, in the story, there is March Hare drinking tea from china cup, a white rabbit wearing a waistcoat, and consulting his pocket watch, the pieces and pawns of a chess set coming to life and walking about, customs and opinions on all manners of subjects. Now, Brooks says that Alice books tell us the universal truths about human nature. There is satire which often reveals things about ourselves which we fail to perceive. And then he also says that he talks about hypocrisy when two of the characters, Walrus and Carpenter, they weep over the fate of the oysters that they are eating. The characters repeatedly, continuously deconstruct courteous expressions. There are parodies of the 19th century poems that take themselves too seriously. All in all, Alice books convey how Victorianism prevails in society. Finally, Brooks lists another example. Now, this is the concluding example of humanistic uses of literature through a very good poem, "The Long-Legged Fly," by William Butler Yeats, a masterpiece. With this example, he gives yet another humanistic use of literature. He tries to show that there is a stable core that persists from age to age, culture to culture, a stable human core. There is a continuity in spite of all the differences, the time differences, the differences of space, lands are different, cultures may be different, but there is something. There is something which is common, which continues from age to age, from culture to culture. So this is a three-stanza poem, and there are differences. All the three paragraphs, they depict three different scenes, but the last two lines of each of the stanza are the same. That is, they are repeated, which means that no matter how many differences are there between the situations, circumstances, and time, some things they transcend space and times. There are some things which are common, which are universal. In all the three stanzas, there are three types of human beings involved in some deep thought. Even the human beings are different. Caesar, he was an emperor, general. Then we have Helen of Troy, a beautiful woman. Then we have a great artist, Michelangelo. All the human beings, they are involved in some deep thought or contemplation, as if planning and working at something, and they do not want to be disturbed. So what they need is silence and solitude. Of course, we all need the silence and solitude whenever we are doing a job. Suppose we are studying for an exam, or we are planning about anything. So we all need that. So the first stanza depicts a Caesar planning his next battle. The second is about an incident in the girlhood of Helen of Troy. And in the third, we have master painter Michelangelo who's painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. The first scene stands for military and executive power, the second for love and beauty, and the third for creation of heroic art. There is a voice in the poem that stresses the need for silence because some genius is at work, is engrossed in serious work, serious calculation, contemplation. But nobody would want to be disturbed at that time. There should be total silence. And there is a voice in the poem which we have imperative sentences like quiet the dog and teether the pony. These are imperative sentences as if giving orders or commands or telling someone to carry out the orders to do this, to do that, to maintain silence and not to cause any disturbance. So silence and solitude are necessary for the creation of anything great. Yeats himself believed that all great work needed to be gestated in solitude. Every important work requires silence and solitude. Brooks connects this with common experience. This is what is important, that he connects this experience of the past of all the three different personalities who require silence and solitude. He connects this with the common man of the present times. He says that nobody would want a hi-fi bellowing rock and roll music when they are studying for a difficult exam, which is very obvious. In the poem, Helen of Troy is placed on par with Caesar and Michelangelo because Yeats considered a truly beautiful woman as an artist, though it is nature's gift. She has to work at it, disciplined to be mastered. Again, Brooks connects this past belief with the present scenario, where in today's times we see advertisers, they proclaim that anybody can be beautiful or anybody can become anything, any change is possible if they work at it. Of course, they have to buy their brands. They are promoting their own brands, but these things are very much prevalent even today. What Brooks is trying to show that past does not lose its relevance in the present. He also says that he says about Harold Bloom that he misunderstands a few things in the poem when he calls deep contemplation as aimless reverie. It was not aimless, as Brooks says. All the three people, that is, Caesar was involved in deep thought. So was Helen of Troy, and so was Michelangelo. So Caesar was calculating in his mind the outcome of the next day's battle. Now, if you in the poem that it is the mind which is in control, his hand is just under his head. So the head is in control. Whatever the head is planning, the hand will carry out the plan. So there is an alliteration between hand and head. They are connected. And also we find alliterations in the very first line, the civilization and the sing, that is, civilization has been saved due to Caesar's efforts. So Caesar was calculating in his mind the outcome of the next day's battle. He uses his inward eye, called Bliss of Solitude by Wordsworth. The repetition of the last two lines in all the three stanzas stresses the importance of the mind moving on silence. At the same time, Brooks cautions against those critics who mistakenly miss the meaning. Bloom, is obviously pointing towards Harold Bloom, who argues that Caesar and Helen of Troy abandoned their minds to go with the flow of the stream. That is, according to Bloom, they go downstream. In fact, they are moving upstream. But in fact, they're moving upstream, just like the long-legged fly. It is the long-legged fly is the sea strider that holds its position because of this. It doesn't swim or it doesn't sink. Neither it floats. It is there. It holds its position because of the surface tension. And in between, it makes a quick, short movement upstream. So there is no floating or swimming, but moving upon the stream, sort of total control over action. The flowing stream is perhaps symbolic of the passing of time, and time sweeps everyone away. This is what Brooks says. He gives an example of an 18th century literary figure. But as Caesar or a Helen or a Michelangelo have not been completely swept away, their names still linger in our minds, and it is the mind that is in control, working in silence. It is the mind that is in control, working in silence, executing and controlling all actions and events. What is interesting to note here is the time periods of the three scenes. Now, this is where the real argument lies, what he's trying to say, what Brooks is trying to prove. So the three scenes, the Caesar's time period was around 100 to 44 BC. Helen of Troy's time period was 1200 BC. So there's a vast gap, and that of Michelangelo was 1475 to 1564 AD. So there's a lot of gap between the time periods, all different time periods, but there is something common, which is common to all the time zones. In all of these time zones, there are certain things that are common, and these common things hold good even in the present day. By this, Brooks perhaps refutes the concept of complete relativism. We have been talking about relativism and deconstructionism, who deny any universal truth or any determinate meaning. So this is what Brooks refutes, saying that the salvation of civilization will tomorrow depend upon what is going on now. So what the civilization will become tomorrow, what is going to happen tomorrow, it has already started in the mind. What is going on in the mind today? He gives example of Caesar. That is what is going to happen in the battle tomorrow. Will depend at what is going on in the head of Caesar at present. So Brooks perhaps wants to prove that language, in fact, he wants to prove that he has proved that language is not a closed system, and literature is not simply a game of words. With this, we have completed this chapter. We have come to the end of the chapter with this example of the poem Long-Legged Fly by W.B. Yeats. So the chapter that we were doing, Primacy of Linguistic Medium, we have ended this chapter. We have completed this chapter. And the next lecture we'll take up a new chapter, that is to write an intransitive verb by Roland Barthes. Thank you.